Clarissa Roberts, and I have been a member of this prestigious association for 10 years. It is with a great sense of pride I congratulate the St. Kitts National Youth Parliament Association on the celebration of its 20th anniversary. Throughout the years, the association has offered meaningful volunteerism, strong contributions to the national debate, and my own holistic personal and professional development, all key facets of equality and justice in nation building. For these key reasons and more, I am SKNYPA proud.
Why am I proud to be a SKNYParian? Being a part of SKNYPA means being a part of a team that fights for youth involvement in this nation's affairs. SKNYPA represents equality and justice for all. In the past, it has molded its members to become upstanding citizens of this federation. I am honored to hold the title of SKNYParian, and I can truly say that my leadership skills and public speaking skills have developed during my membership. I am SKNYPA proud.
Greetings! Why am I SKNYPA proud? This institution represents vision and excellence among many other values and characteristics that cannot be predicted nor replicated. You see, within SKNYPA, we have created a vehicle via which innovation and creativity rise, where young people have the opportunity to reach their fullest potential. Look at me. From my inception, SKNYPA has been a cog in the turning wheel of my holistic development. I am youth activist Vikel Edwards Douglas, and I am SKNYPA proud.
Being a SKNYParian has given me the unique opportunity to be intimately informed about the parliamentary system of St. Kitts and to make my opinions on matters of national interest known to the highest elected officials of the land through position papers. This is an opportunity that not many young people often get. I am SKNYPA proud.
10 years ago, in August 2011, I joined the St. Kitts National Youth Parliament Association, and what a journey it was. I learned how to enhance my public speaking skills. I learned a lot about parliamentary procedure and was able to gain a network of young people from across the entire Caribbean region and also the wider world. Honestly, being a SKNYParian was a wonderful experience, and I'm grateful for every single opportunity that was given to me. I am SKNYPA proud.
SKNYPA gave me a voice and the opportunity to speak on some of the most important topics of our day, not just here in St. Kitts, but regionally and internationally. I became a member of the association from 2002 right up until 2015. During those years, I found my voice and I matured. I would not be where I am today had it not been for the St. Kitts National Youth Parliament Association. The lessons and training received in the association continues to aid me in my personal and professional life today. I am a SKNYParian and I wear that badge with pride. Thank you to SKNYPA, and I say to all its members, past, present and honorary members, a happy 20th anniversary, and may God continue to bless you all.
Being a part of this association has taught me so much. Public speaking skills, social skills, communication skills, you name it. I've learned through this association that I have a voice and that my opinions do matter. As I continue my journey as a SKNYParian, I look forward to the many opportunities that are in store. I am SKNYPA proud.
Good day, I'm Shirley Benjamin Kelly, founding member and first president of the St. Kitts National Youth Parliament Association. SKNYPA was a tremendous opportunity, and it helped me learn a lot about leadership. Leadership does not just include pandering to the popular vote, but in understanding the things that affect everybody that you represent. It may not always be the popular thing to do, but we should always do the right thing. In putting country above self, we have to think about everyone in the country, not just those who support us. Congratulations to SKNYPA on reaching 20 years of service.
I am SKNYPA proud.
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 Good night. Can everyone please stand? Bow all heads and close all eyes, please. Dear Heavenly Father, we come to you in prayer to thank you for allowing us to be here this evening in celebration of SKNYPA's 20th anniversary. Lord, we thank you for the vision of the organizers of this event, as well as the sponsors that would have made it a reality. We pray for your continued blessings over the lives of the young people participating tonight, that they may carry on being leaders in our federation. We ask for your guidance over these proceedings, that they may serve as an avenue to bring these groups closer together. All these things we pray and more. In Jesus' name, amen.
Please be seated. Good night and welcome to SKNYPA's 20th anniversary inter-association debate. Now we're going to get right into the program and we are going to have Mr. Hanif Charles, who is going to bring us some brief welcome remarks.
Good evening, everyone. I bid you a pleasant evening and welcome. I make special mention of our executive, particularly the president of SKNYPA, Ms. Patrice Harris, other members of the executive, our specially invited guests, our participants, and of course, our virtual viewing audience. I extend a warm welcome to you to the St. Kitts National Youth Parliament Association's Inter-Association Debate Competition. This competition is just one of the many events being held as part of our 20-day celebration to mark our 20th anniversary. This momentous occasion is being observed under the theme, 20 Years of Shaping Our Society, Forging Ahead with Justice and Equality, which is a prompt reminder that we must not rest on our laurels, but rather continue the work of youth involvement in nation building. Indeed, over the past 2 decades, the St. Kitts National Youth Parliament Association has lent its voice to riveting national, regional, and global discussions on issues of varied complexities, such as and have done so through platforms such as youth parliament sittings, youth forums, and live radio debates. And we continue to do so with our inter-association debate competition this evening. I feel compelled to note that the competition is certainly more than the rivalry and the quest to win the title. In fact, it was our intention for this to be a friendly match. But despite whatever competitive angle you take, one thing must be underscored. This debate competition's significant role in registering the perspective of a diverse cross-section of young people speaks volume to the commitment of the St. Kitts National Youth Parliament Association to not only be the voice of young people, but also empower young people to speak up for themselves. Accordingly, our association has collaborated with a few other youth-led and/or youth-serving organizations to put on what I know will be an impeccable display of eloquence and mastery of oratory skills. Even more so, those within the sound of our voices will get varying views and perspectives, and perhaps a lesson or two on the widely discussed issue of mandatory vaccination. I take this opportunity to thank and congratulate our participants today for your contributions to such a discussion. Your words have power. Ralph Waldo Emerson puts it quite nicely that speech is power. Speech is to persuade, to convert, to compel. May this be the avenue through which much needed change and action is enabled. To our viewing audience, the opportunity is most certainly yours to weigh in on the moot being debated today and we look forward to engaging you via the comment section on our Facebook and YouTube pages. With those few words, I welcome you once again to our inter-association debate as part of SKNYPA's 20th anniversary celebrations. You are in for a debate that will have you on the edge of your seats, and I wish all of the participants good luck. Thank you.
Thank you, Hanif. Now we'll have our president, Ms. Patrice Harris, who is going to bring our opening remarks.
Good evening, everyone. I first would like to thank you for joining us on this venture this evening. I know my chairperson of the anniversary committee would have mentioned that this is not so much of a rivalry, but I'm naturally a competitive person. And I really want to wish all of the teams that are participating in this event this evening best of luck. They say luck is only for the unprepared, but in any case, I'm certain that you will be comforted knowing that you have the support of the individuals in this room, as well as those persons who are joining us virtually. For those persons who might not be aware, the St. Kitts National Youth Parliament Association is a non-governmental, non-partisan association that strives to complete the work of the young people, which is to include the youth voice in nation building and decision making. I am sure that many persons might have seen our grand activities for our 20th anniversary, and we're just about to culminate those activities this weekend with our annual general meeting. I encourage all persons in this room as well to follow us on social media, especially those persons who are viewing on Facebook as well as YouTube, so that you can continue to witness the work of this association. SKNYPA is primarily an advocacy group, and the way that we do this is through our youth parliament sittings and through engagements like these, which is a debate. We tend to lend our voice towards topical issues of the day. We would have recently concluded a parliament sitting on the ease of doing business as well as the blue economy, and it would have been quite remiss of us to have activities and did not discuss mandatory vaccinations. And that is why we chose to have that be the topic for this evening's debate. Again, I want to wish the groups that are participating best of luck, and may the best team win. We know which team that is, but may the best team win. Thank you.
Welcome. Let's hit the road running. First, we're going to have the introduction of judges. This will be done by Ms. Cara Daly. While she's calling your name, I would like you just to stand and just give a brief wave to the audience and cameras so that people can know who you are. We have Ms. Colincia Levine, Colincia Levine, Mr. Azad Gums, and Ms. Lanine Blanchett. Thank you, Carol.
Good evening, all. I will now introduce the three judges who will be judging tonight's competition. I will begin with Mr. Azad Gums. Mr. Azad Gums is a lawyer and by profession, and a former president of the St. Kitts National Youth Parliament Association. He has a love for debate and public speaking and has participated, organized, and judged numerous debate and public speaking competitions. Mr. Gums is no stranger to the British parliamentary-style debate, as he was a member of both the UWI Mona and Caville debating societies, which practice the same style of debate. Let's give a round of applause for Mr. Azad Gums, please. Secondly, we have Ms. Lanine Blanchett. Ms. Blanchett is a young and energetic Crown Counsel employed by the government of St. Christopher and Nevis. She is attached to the chambers of the Director of Public Prosecutions. At said chambers, Ms. Blanchett prosecutes federally in magisterial and high court criminal cases on behalf of the Crown or state. Ms. Blanchett holds a bachelor's degree from Monroe College, first-class honors in the field of criminal justice with a minor in juvenile delinquency, in addition to a bachelor's of law, UWI Phil Campus, upper second-class honors. She also holds a legal education certificate from Norman Manley Law School. Outside of her professional functions, Ms. Blanchett is the president of the Aces Netball Club, assistant secretary of the Kia Foundation, recently launched in April of this year, and is a member of the St. Kitts Nevis Sports Council. She previously served as the St. Kitts Netball Association's constitutional chairperson, volunteer council, and same for the Flow 4G Keon Rockets Football Club, where she wrote/drafted the club's current constitution. Her personal mantra is to finish the race, no matter how long or hard, slow and steady at all times. Let's give a round of applause for Ms. Blanchett. Our third judge is Mrs. Colencia Levine. Mrs. Colencia Levine has been a teacher since 2012. Formerly at the Verchilds High School, she served as English department head, block head for Form 2, and management team member. Extracurriculars included timetabling, calendar of events, student council, and debate club. She is currently at the Sadler Secondary School, where she serves as the head of the English department. She holds a bachelor's degree in politics and criminology with distinction from the University of Western Ontario, Canada, in addition to a postgraduate diploma in education with a focus on teaching of English, with distinction from the University of the West Indies. Mrs. Levine holds a Master's of Arts in English degree with distinction from the University of the West Indies, and is currently enrolled in doctoral studies at the University of the West Indies. Mrs. Levine is a Catholic and a mother of one. Let's give a round of applause for Mrs. Levine. Thank you.
Thank you, Carol. I'm going to start with reading the rules and regulations that will guide our proceedings this evening. There will be 4 individual teams consisting of 2 persons each. There will be the upper government, lower government, upper opposition, and lower opposition. The upper government is made up of the Prime Minister and Deputy Prime Minister, and the lower government is made up of the government member and government whip. The upper opposition is made up of the leader of the opposition and deputy leader of the opposition, while the lower opposition is made up of the opposition member and the opposition whip. The government side is made up of the government, upper government, and the lower government, while the opposition side is comprised of the upper opposition and the lower opposition. However, the 4 teams, that is, upper government, lower government, upper opposition, and lower opposition, will be judged individually. Speakers are expected to familiarize themselves with the speaker roles document in order to fulfill their assigned role to the best of their ability. Participants must present and at the venue at least 30 minutes prior to the start of the debate. Each speaker will have a total of 7 minutes to present their speeches, and an additional 30 seconds to complete their argument. At the culmination of the 30 seconds, Duana, I would like to invite, Duana will raise our timer. At the culmination of 7 minutes, she will raise that paper, and then after the completion of the 30 seconds of your debate, she will take it down. After that time, I will ask you to vacate the lectern politely. The first and last minute will be protected. No one can ask any point of information within that time. A point of information is when a member of the opposing side of the current speaker gets to briefly interrupt the current speaker, offering a point of information in the form of a question or statement based on the content of the presentation. Speakers can accept or decline point of information at his or her own discretion. However, For maximum points, it is expected that the speaker accept at least 2. To assist with the recording of time, we have a timer. At the end of the first minute, the timer will raise a white paper. Only after this white paper has been raised, opposing members can raise a point of information. When the 5 minutes have elapsed, the timer will raise the green card. When the 6 minutes have elapsed, the timer will raise the yellow card. No point of information will be accepted after the yellow card has been raised. When 7 minutes have elapsed, the timer will hold up the red card until your 30 seconds additional time to wrap up has expired. Presenters exceeding 7 minutes and 30 seconds will be asked to vacate the podium by the speaker. The use of profanity and/or role-playing is not allowed. The Speaker of the House reserves the right to correct, guide, or instruct participants of the debate as he or she sees fit to the efficient and fair running of the competition. The judges' decisions are final, and results will be announced by a member responsible for programming activities. Note well, ranking is based on role fulfillment and contribution to the debate. I'm now going to read the criteria. Organization. Does the debater have a clear flow from point to point? Are the points properly signposted? Is there a unifying theme or stated common value or first principle at play? Analysis. How thoroughly does the debater understand this issue? Is this case superficial, or does it delve deeply into nuances and complications? Does the debater see all sides of the issue? Logic. Is the debater making observations and arguments that make sense given the topic and evidence on the table? Is the debater making unfounded or unexplained claims? Are the thought linked to present? Evidence. Is the debater bolstering or illustrating his or her points with specific details that support his or her contentions? Is the rhetoric grounded in facts? Is the evidence being used related to the argument being presented? Is the debater's spin on that evidence clever and convincing? Refutation. Has the debater attacked the points of his or her opponent with logic and evidence? Has the debater successfully used what his or her opponent has said against him or her? Is the refutation vague or specific, going point by point? Finally, delivery. How well does the debater command an audience? Does he or she speak clearly and loudly? How is his or her eye contact and stance? Does he or she connect with listeners? Does he or she follow the rules of the House? The mood for this evening's debate is: this House believes that the mandatory vaccination of all citizens without severe underlying health issues is the most effective way to reach herd immunity during this COVID-19 pandemic. Without no further ado, I am going to welcome our first speaker, Prime Minister on the government side, Mr. Patrice Nisbet.
Madam Speaker, I rise today in this most august assembly to commence what is a very timely debate and to set forth a clear roadmap for leading St. Kitts and Nevis out of the vice grip of this COVID-19 pandemic. In order to ensure that the House is on the same footing, permit me a moment to define specific topics within the motion. According to the Justice Center for Constitutional Freedoms, mandatory vaccination means a legal requirement to be vaccinated against the disease, while the World Health Organization defines herd immunity as the indirect protection from an infectious disease that happens when a substantial proportion of a population is immune to vaccination. Madam Speaker, it cannot be gainsaid that no disease in recent memory, perhaps in history, has wreaked as much havoc on the global community as COVID-19. This pandemic has destroyed lives and decimated livelihoods. What has been particularly debilitating about COVID is that unlike other diseases such as anthrax, MERS, and Ebola, which though deadly, were largely geographically confined to a specific region, COVID has wreaked havoc on every single corner of the globe. Madam Speaker, from Amsterdam to Australia and from South Korea to St. Kitts and Nevis. Madam Speaker, let there be no doubt that we are indeed in unprecedented and serious times, and serious times require serious action from serious people. My government is a bold and serious government, and we are prepared to take the necessary steps and requirements to return our country to a state of normalcy. While we encourage all our citizens to practice the non-pharmaceutical measures, the reality is that vaccination, particularly mandatory vaccination, remains by far our best option for ending this pandemic. And I will explain why that is so. Firstly, Madam Speaker, the COVID-19 pandemic has proven not just to be a major health challenge, but has evolved into a very protracted economic crisis as well. Further to this, the industry which has been hardest hit happens to be the very industry which St. Kitts and Nevis is most reliant on, tourism. Madam Speaker, our small and vulnerable economies were not built to handle this level of social and economic dislocation. I have said to people that COVID-19 has been worse than any Category 5 hurricane, because when a hurricane hits, as severe as the impact is, it comes, it does its damage, and within a few hours, it's on its merry way. But we have been grappling with COVID-19 not just for 2 weeks or 2 months, but for nearly 2 years. Madam Speaker, this situation is not sustainable and cannot be allowed to continue. The second point, Madam Speaker, is that mandatory vaccination is not a new concept. We have decades of scientific history which demonstrates the effectiveness of mandatory vaccination in eradicating numerous diseases. Indeed, all of us in this honorable house were subject to mandatory vaccination for measles, mumps, and several other diseases, because otherwise we could not enter school without it. So there is no need to act as if vaccination is the boogeyman. I had to chuckle, Madam Speaker, when I heard one lady say she is not taking the AstraZeneca vaccine because it was made in India and she don't trust those Indians. And I had to say to her, sweetheart, those same vaccines that you took when you were a child, do you know where they were made? India. What is more, Madam Speaker, is that when you look at the statistics with regard to vaccine uptake throughout the region, it will be difficult to achieve herd immunity, especially due to the vaccine hesitancy and the misinformation that exists. Countries such as St. Lucia and St. Vincent have not even vaccinated 20% of their population as yet, in spite of the abundance of COVID vaccines now available to us. In St. Kitts and Nevis, we still remain a considerable way off of the 70% threshold. The reality is, Madam Speaker, if mandatory vaccination was able to help us eradicate smallpox, polio, and measles, then this government will be trusting in the science of mandatory vaccination to help us eradicate the scourge of COVID-19. But, Madam Speaker, there is another critical element of the vaccination debate, and that is the effectiveness of COVID vaccines. Whether it's in the US or the Bahamas or Jamaica, we are seeing a trend whereby the overwhelming majority of COVID hospitalizations and deaths now consist of unvaccinated persons, which means that the vaccine is doing what it is supposed to do. Madam Speaker, I think it was in the 2010 general election that the Labour Party had a very popular slogan called, "It's working." They claimed that St. Kitts and Nevis, it's working. Education, it's working. Tourism, it's working. Well, maybe we need to bring back that slogan for this pandemic, because when you examine the persons who are now being hospitalized and dying from COVID-19, it is clear that when it comes to the vaccine, it's working. Or as we say in our local parlance, ear walk. Madam Speaker, I am acutely aware that there are those who will insist that mandatory vaccination is a violation of human rights. But I want for those same persons to be equally aware that while this government is a respecter and protector of human rights, none of the fundamental rights in the Constitution are absolute. All of them are expressly made subject to specific limitations in the public interest, such as public health and public safety. Madam Speaker, COVID-19 has already taken 2020 and 2021 away from us. And my government, the people's government, is adamant that it will not be allowed to take 2022 as well. It is in that vein, and with a view to acting in the public and national interest, that we will ensure that all eligible persons take the vaccine to put an end to COVID-19. May it please you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Mr. Nisbet. I would like to highlight the associations that are represented here this evening. Nevis delegation, with forms of the upper government, we have Mr. Patrice Nisbet and Ms. Zara Trotman. The lower government, which represented by the Clarence Fitzroy Bryan College Excellence Toastmasters Club, Mr. Jalen Munzak and Mr. Tariq Hercules. The St. Kitts National Youth Parliament Association are represented by Mr. Darren Connor and Ms. Malia Erskine. They form part of the upper opposition. And finally, but not least, the Clarence Fitzroy Bryan College Literary Debating Society, who forms part of the lower opposition, is made up of Ms. Dariel Warner and Ms. Khadija Ijen. Next, we'll have the leader of the opposition, Mr. Darren Connor.
Madam Speaker, it pains all of us to be in this honorable house discussing such a trivial topic, a decision that will not only call into question our rights as citizens, but is a threat to any progressive society. While we may think that mandatory vaccination is the easiest way out of this pandemic, there is no shortcut to the wellness of one's citizens, and we must ask ourselves, at what cost would this endeavor reveal in the long run? The lack of trust and social divide only reduces the number of those being vaccinated. And despite tireless education campaigns, individuals are still unsure of the vaccine, and mandating these same vaccinations will only extend this lack of trust. For example, at the beginning of the vaccine rollout, it was stated that individuals who received the vaccine could return to a sense of normalcy and maskless activities. An article published by the CDC, dated May 13, 2021, quote, CDC says fully vaccinated people don't need to wear face masks indoors or outdoors in most settings, end quote. They highlighted individuals who took the vaccine no longer needed to wear face masks or stand 6 feet apart from one another, and yet By July 21st, Dr. Anthony Fauci stated that even the vaccinated should wear a mask, injuring the credibility of the CDC. While we can confidently say that vaccination is a step closer to ending this pandemic, we believe that it should not be mandated. In an address to the nation by Honorable Akila Byron Nisbet on September 15, 2021, it was stated that out of the 9 COVID-related deaths, 1 of these were fully vaccinated. This is in stark contradiction to the narrative that was and is still being spread about vaccination and its ability to prevent hospitalization and death due to COVID. As stated by AstraZeneca on the 3rd of February 2021, the vaccine provides 100% protection against hospitalization and death. Secondly, due to the various sanctions in place regarding mandatory vaccinations, several individuals may turn to unconventional means. An article by the British Broadcasting Centre published on the 12th of July 2021, quote, France COVID, vaccinations mandatory for all health workers, highlighted that for individuals to remain in the public sector, they must be in possession of a vaccination passport. In addition to this, as of October 1st, 2021, all qualified citizens of Antigua and Barbuda must be vaccinated. An article published by Loop News entitled Government of Antigua Implementing Mandatory Vaccination Policy stated that all public servants who cannot provide proof of vaccination must remain home. They will also forfeit a wage or salary, preventing these individuals from attending outdoor events. And Madam Speaker, we are well aware that for Caribbean people, every pan knock, we must go. This forces citizens to either get vaccinated or allow themselves and their children to remain hungry. And this creates the niche market for scammers.
Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I rise on a point of information. The leader of the opposition claimed that there are sanctions on mandatory vaccination. Does he have any evidence and proof of this or an example of the sanctions that are on mandatory vaccination?
I have sanctions, Honorable. If you allow me to complete the point, you will hear it. Yes? This creates the niche market for scammers. Black markets are popping up all over to capitalize on the ever-growing need of false vaccination cards. An article by CBS News, August 19th, booming market for fake COVID-19 vaccination cards is going mainstream, clarifies that these cards could go for as little as $100 US, and the ease of access could not be better. From WhatsApp groups to Instagram pages dedicated to the sale of these fake passports. It allows for persons who don't want and who are unable to vaccinate an escape. In addition to this, the current demand for authentic vaccination is increasing by the day, while the supply is decreasing. An article by Robin Cohen of Oxford University, February 9, 2021, entitled COVID Vaccines, Rich Countries Have Bought More Than They Need, end quote, states that a number of wealthy countries have exceeded the number of vaccination purchases that they would require, leaving the poorer countries to wallow in the mud, waiting for what could be months or years for life-saving vaccines. Madam Speaker, what we have on our hands is a geopolitical war, a misinformation campaign created for superpower countries to flourish. All we hear about is the Pfizer vaccine, which is...
Madam Speaker, on a point of information, I would like to know if the opposition was aware of the motion, as they have still not yet addressed what the most effective way to reach herd immunity is. They're going all round about. Please tell me, what is the most effective way to reach herd immunity? Thank you.
I'll allow my deputy member to report that. For example, the EU has ordered 1.6 billion doses of the AstraZeneca vaccine for its adult population, which is roughly 375 million strong. How could we mandate vaccination when the other countries are struggling to even obtain a crumb of vaccine? As these countries lament upon the question of where they will obtain vaccines, the black market flourishes with their illegal sale of what can be classified as imitations. On the 30th of June 2021, the Venezuelan Investigation Unit published Venezuelan Thriving Black Market for COVID-19 Vaccines, end quote. This reveals the harsh reality that criminal networks have indeed seized and created their own vaccines to resell to the public market using sugar, spice, and everything nice. Madam Speaker, what would happen if an individual with genuine intentions ends up taking a fake vaccine? The gripping reality is that this mandate will in fact push these criminal networks and citizens who are unable to obtain vaccinations to seek other measures of obtaining such.
Please vacate the lectern.
I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Just some brief housekeeping matters. Members, when you are asking or raising a point of information, please raise your hand. I must apologize because my view of the government members, upper government, is not as well as we are in position here, so I apologize for that. But going forward, stand and then raise your hand. After you have raised your hand, then I'll acknowledge you and then you proceed. If the member is willing to accept the point of information. Once the member is not accepting the point of information, who is standing at the podium, then you sit down and you continue the presentation. So, on a point of information, stand, raise your hand, wait to be acknowledged. If the member is willing to accept the point of information, then at that time, the member will state, accepted, and then, if he does, he answer the question. If not, he decline, and you have to take your seat. Who's asking the point of information? Our next speaker will be the Deputy Prime Minister, Ms. Zara Trotman.
Madam Speaker, as Deputy Prime Minister, I make my appearance before you in this honorable House in staunch support of not only the motion, but of the Prime Minister. I sat here in my seat, waiting, expecting, hoping for the members opposite to present some cogent and credible arguments as to why this House should not enact law to ensure our individuals can produce immunity against a disease that has been ripping us apart. Instead, I was met with what we call a rack-a-tang-tang car, as the opposition was filled with bare noise and cloudy exhaust coming from their engines, their mouths, Madam Speaker. And so, permit me this moment to expose their fallacies. Firstly, the opposition, in his failed attempt to guide this House, said that this topic will raise the question of personal rights. Madam Speaker, I understand their concern, I truly do. However, the fundamental rights of our citizens are not being infringed upon. My government's position is protected by the most supreme law of this federation, the Constitution of St. Christopher and Nevis. In Section 5, subsection 1H of the Constitution, it is stated, and I quote, "A person should not be deprived of his or her personal liberty, save as may be authorized by law in any of the following cases, that is to say, for the purpose of preventing the spread of an infectious and contagious disease," end quote. Furthermore, the mandatory vaccination of citizens is also protected by the Public Health Act of St. Christopher and Nevis. Chapter 9.21, Section 10, subsection C12 further supports such. Moreover, Madam Speaker, the unsound arguments did not end there. The opposition leader also mentioned that COVID is not a threat to any progressive society. Again, Madam Speaker, this can't be the case as evinced by the rampant nature of COVID in the Federation with the protocols in place.
Testing. On a point of information, just to correct the deputy, I did in fact said it was, not that it isn't. Just to clarify.
Okay. Thank you for that. Continuing, these alternative methods have been exhausted. Protocols have been exhausted, and we are like a car with no wheels, stationary. Madam Speaker, the virus is extremely small and can escape the physical protection of PPEs, which is why the vaccine is needed to prepare our immune system to fight the virus. As the Prime Minister said, we have been in the vice grip of COVID for 2 years. These alternative methods alone are not the most effective way to reach herd immunity. And if they were, we would already be there. You know, I wonder where their information comes from because, again, misinformation. According to both the CDC and FDA, the vaccines are safe, effective, and have full FDA approval. The CDC also states that adverse effects such as anaphylaxis are rare, occurring in only 2 to 5 vaccinated persons per million. The chances of someone contracting and experiencing adverse effects from COVID are higher compared to a vaccinated person experiencing adverse effects. Madam Speaker, now that I have cleansed your ears of their wax, allow me to further support the government leader as it pertains to enacting laws to ensure our citizens produce immunity against this disease. One of the main reasons why we are not there yet is vaccination hesitancy. Madam Speaker, how can we possibly reach herd immunity through voluntary vaccination when vaccine hesitancy can so easily turn into vaccine resistance and the opposition is only adding fuel to the fire? Ideally, Madam Speaker, slow and steady wins the race. But I am afraid that is not the case in this situation. Time is of the essence as we are recording 28 new cases on average each day. We cannot allow complacency to plague our people. To prevent this, my government proposes a model that ensures our citizens will be informed of the scientific facts and truth. Yes, Madam Speaker, the truth and facts that the opposition so copiously lacks. First, it is of utmost importance to elevate the voices of public health authorities by always providing citizens with information from credible local sources and government websites to keep them up to date and well informed on the pandemic. Secondly, we must ensure informational sessions are implemented in our schools so we can start our attack at the root. This update extends to being wary of social media misinformation from unqualified sources and alerting our citizens of the trusted ones, health bodies such as the World Health Organization, the Center for Disease Control and Prevention, and the Caribbean Public Health Agency. Madam Speaker, as the Prime Minister would have mentioned, the economic benefit gained from mandating the vaccine can heal the damage the pandemic is doing to our labor force and health sector. I wholeheartedly support his stance and would like to develop that point more. The pandemic is costing us dearly. Without a vaccine mandate and with new cases almost every day, we must raise a very important question. Can we afford the cost of this pandemic? Madam Speaker, we grieve with the family and friends of the cherished lives that were taken from us during this pandemic. These tragic lives, these tragic events that have taken place are what we cannot allow to continue. We cannot afford to lose any more lives, nor can we afford to have our citizens becoming so severely infected that our hospitals cannot accommodate them. Take the government of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, for example. Prime Minister Dr. Ralph Gonsalves has his health sector preparing for the worst as new variants such as Delta and Mu take a hold of the Caribbean. Without mandatory vaccination, we will need more and more IV stands, beds, ventilators, suction machines, PCR tests, and more. From that extensive list, you can see the sheer amount of money it will cost the government if we continue along the trajectory with voluntary vaccination.
Madam Speaker, I rise on a point of information. Why going to schools when only one vaccine approach is used for children?
I will continue my speech as your time has gone. Thank you. We need to pay close attention to the actions of our Caribbean neighbors. Conclusively, Madam Speaker, as we can see, the legislation speaks for itself. Even if the opposition sits here and disagrees with everything I say, the government has already won this debate. Not only because the power...
Ms. Trotman, please vacate the lectern. Some reminders again. After the white card, if I can gain your assistance, please. After the white card has been raised, then the floor is open for point of information. Then there is a 5 minutes card, which is the green. After the yellow card has been raised, then there will be the floor is closed and there will be no more point of information that will be accepted. So so debaters, please pay attention if you are not the speaking one, but both, everybody, to the cards that are being raised, because after the yellow card has been raised, there will be no point of information that will be accepted. And you know, the red card, it signals that your 7 minutes has expired, and so on. Now we'll have Deputy Leader of the Opposition, Ms. Malia Erskine.
Madam Speaker, I rise to make a contribution on the moot before us. It was Colin Powell who said, "Leadership is solving problems." And so, Madam Speaker, this leads me to question whether the government is trying to solve a problem or if their intentions are to create division and confusion in this country. It is common sense that if you force someone to do something against his or her will, that he or she will retaliate with violence. That's why it was no surprise when the people of St. Kitts took protests on the streets on August 21st. Now, the government may blame this on pure ignorance and blissfulness, but I blame their so-called solution, because while the people were protesting peacefully, Madam Speaker, the men in uniform wasted no time before they tear-gassed our worried citizens. Look around the Caribbean, and you see that mandating this vaccine has caused more uprising and rioting, and is leading us further away from the goal. Observe, in Antigua and Barbuda, from September 20th, 2021, government workers that are unvaccinated are to remain at home until there is proof of vaccination. No longer than 2 weeks later, after this announcement was made, the Antigua Trades and Labor Union has already planned protests by not showing up to work on 2 consecutive days, starting from the 20th September 2021. On a post published by Loop News, it states, "In consideration of the Prime Minister's response to our release, we are asking all employees to stay at home on Monday 20th and Tuesday 21st September 2021. In protest of the government's mandatory vaccination policy, which we consider to be unreasonable." I find it ridiculous, Madam Speaker, that employees feel so threatened to the point where they have to protest in order to be heard. This brings me to another keynote, that the people do not trust this vaccine. How are they expected to trust a substance when there is little to no awareness on it? Why should they be eager to take something that is forced upon them? I myself would be suspicious of a cake.
On a point of information, Madam Speaker, if our people do not trust the vaccine, then is it not our responsibility to educate them about it? Thank you.
I will speak more on this later in my speech. I myself would be suspicious of a cake that is being shoved down my throat. From the mouth of a concerned citizen, Madam Speaker, if they are going to tell us to put a vaccine in our bodies against our wills, that is vaccine rape. He even further stated that the government has become rapist in the eyes of communities. Why isn't the government taking the necessary
I want to ask you, how is it that we are forcing the vaccine onto people when we have the Constitution that is enshrined in our human rights? What we are trying to do, we are trying to take an indirect approach to vaccination. So what you're seeing in the Caribbean is not where somebody is taking their hand and saying, go and vaccinate. We are encouraging people through limiting encouraging people to limit their non-essential movement, as this virus is highly transmissible for unvaccinated persons. Thank you. So my question is, how is it that we can force mandatory vaccination on people?
If I may briefly answer your question. When policies are being put in place that are limiting people from participating in social events and are limiting them from going out to work to provide for their families, so it leaves them with no choice but to go and get vaccinated, even if it goes against their religions and beliefs. Thank you. I may continue now. Where is the reassurance that...
I recognize member, Mr. Patrice Lisbeth.
I decline this point of information.
Time up, pause, time, please. Thank you. Members of this House, we are guided, or I am the one in charge of the conduct and order of this House. I will recognize members when they stand. I, the Madam Speaker, will recognize members. If I realize that a point of information seems to be going along, then I will act accordingly and give my points or intake. So please, again, I am the Speaker and I will conduct this House.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Where is a reassurance that being vaccinated won't kill you, but instead be a shield against this deadly virus? A leadership system that cannot provide the demanded information to its people is a leadership system that is inconsiderate and unable to sympathize. How thoughtless and carefree could one be while leading a nation? Madam Speaker, there is a word specifically made for people of these sorts, and if I can recall correctly, that word is incompetent. This government has once again proven to lead under a do as I say and not as I do leadership. It cannot be that members opposite are preaching of how safe this vaccine is when they themselves are not vaccinated. Yet they are pushing their resources into mandating a vaccine to give to our people, spending a near $224,000 EC dollars when children are going to school hungry and without supplies. Speaking of schools, Madam Speaker, Guyana's government added additional measures which bars persons from entering public buildings without proof of vaccination. This led to a protest by 3 unions: Guyana Trades Union, the Guyana Teachers Union, herein referred to as the GTU, and the Guyana Public Service Union. When a new school year was to begin, the students were greeted with empty classrooms and protesting teachers, some of which attended school but refused to teach. Madam Speaker, they are bullying the educators into getting vaccinated and bribing them with a hoax of salary increments. But these well-sensible teachers stood their ground, refused the offer, and continued protesting. Wow.
I must commend them, for this is truly exceptional. All while they were being scrutinized, called uncaring and selfish, they continued speaking out and demanding to be treated right. I'm not one to stand for rioting and protesting, but if that's what's needed for these corrupt systems to be fixed, then, Madam Speaker, I advocate for all unions to stand for their rights. Honorable Member Opposite, allow me to address your point of information.
Member, I will ask you to vacate the lectern. Brief reminder of Rule 13. The Speaker of the House reserves the right to correct, guide, or instruct participants of the debate as he or she sees fit to the efficient and fair running of the competition. Members, I implore you, when you rise again on point of information, please keep them brief. Next, we are going to have the government member, Mr. Jalen Isaac of the Lower House.
Madam Speaker, adjudicators, worthy opponents, ladies and gentlemen, a pleasant good evening once again. The opening government would have rightfully argued the support of mandatory vaccination, and which we also support. They would have outlined that nearly 2 years or 18 months we would have been in this pandemic, which has posed a significant threat to our population. I will now extend on what they would have said. The COVID-19 virus is highly transmissible via various means, including droplets, close contact, and our ear. The Centers for Disease and Control estimates that a newly infected person has an incubation period of between 2 to 14 days, with symptoms on average likely to show up about 5 days after contact. So, in other words, symptoms of COVID-19 can go undetected for between 2 to 14 days. The time between infection and the potential to infect other people, called the latent infection period, was found to be shorter than the incubation period. An assessment published in the International Journal of Infectious Diseases found that the latent infection period ranged from 1 to 5 days before onset, with a median time of 2 days. This means, Madam Speaker, that after the debate this evening, one of us might be an unvaccinated person and be asymptomatic, who may travel on public transport and unknowingly infect other persons that they meet. In fact, COVID-19 is so infectious that the World Health Organization, or WHO, estimated that at the beginning of the pandemic, a time before the availability of COVID-19 vaccines, the productive number or the R0 number, which estimates the number of cases on average that an infected person will cause during the infection period, was seen to be between 2 and 2.5, Madam Speaker. This is saying that each infected person has the potential to infect, on average, between 2 and 2.5 persons. It is important to note that the influenza has an R0 of 0.9 to 2.1. However, countries with increasing vaccination rates have seen their reproductive decline. India dropped from 1.7 in August end to 0.92 in mid-September, indicating that the spread of the infection across the country has slowed down. Similarly, In August, India was able to take its daily vaccinations rate to over 10 million. On the 71st birthday of Prime Minister Narendra Modi, the country would have administered 25 million doses. Moreover, not only is COVID-19 easily transmissible, but is also deadly to unvaccinated individuals. Within the last 18 months, across the world, more than 4.7 million have died from the disease. A study found that unvaccinated individuals are 11 times more likely to die from COVID-19 than those who are fully inoculated. According to the Assistant Principal Nursing Officer and National Immunization Manager, Telka John Baptiste of St. Lucia, when COVID-19 vaccines were introduced, until current, statistics show that unvaccinated persons account for 96.6% of hospitalizations. As a result, Madam Speaker, COVID-19 vaccines provides eligible persons with the necessary antibodies to have an effective immune response to COVID-19. As can be seen with countries with higher vaccination rates, the rates of transmission has declined significantly. To further strengthen this point, I will refer to Saudi Arabia. On August 1st, the country imposed mandatory vaccinations for all members of the public. Bloomberg, in response, dubbed them as having one of the toughest vaccination rates. Not surprisingly though, this month it is reported by the Saudi Gazette that new COVID-19 cases stayed below the 100 mark for the 11th consecutive day ending yesterday, with 69 infections recorded over the last 24 hours, after continuing to slide in the last 5 weeks from the 500 mark. This means by them mandating vaccines, they have prevented unavoidable cases, severe illnesses, and deaths. The mandate has put Saudi Arabia on track to have at least 70% of their adult population fully vaccinated by October. This is within 2 months of the vaccine mandate. Nations like Australia, which have refused to mandate vaccination in their respective populations, are struggling to achieve this threshold. In Australia, 30% are fully vaccinated, a long way to herd immunity. Clearly, mandatory vaccinations are justifiable as COVID-19 continues to present a public health crisis for our country. It is only effective and secured. It is the only effective and secured way for us to protect our entire federation, those that can get vaccinated and those that cannot. And before I end here, I just want to point out the opposition would have spoke about a number of different points, and I too agree with the government that the opposition has not provided an alternative way to herd immunity. And herd immunity can only be achieved through vaccination. What we are saying, we're not saying that we are going to force anybody to be vaccinated. What we are saying is that we are limiting the social interactions, because as I said earlier, COVID-19 is highly transmissible. We are trying to limit the interactions with unvaccinated persons who are likely to spread COVID-19, because we do not want to harm unvaccinated persons, we do not want to harm our elderly people, we do not want to harm our children who cannot be vaccinated. And such, this lower government, we strongly believe that mandatory vaccinations is the way to go. Thank you.
Thank you. Reminding our members again, after the yellow card has been raised, no point of information would be accepted or acknowledged by me. Now we'll have opposition member, Ms. Dariel Warner.
Madam Speaker, government members, astute judges, colleagues, worthy members of the opposition, and listening and viewing audience, a pleasant evening. It is my duty as a member of this Honourable House to introduce our stance on the opposition of the moot. Mandatory vaccination of all citizens without underlying health conditions is the most effective way of achieving herd immunity during the COVID-19 pandemic. In order to understand this issue, I wish to clearly state that mandatory vaccination is highly controversial and not the most effective way to sway citizens to get vaccinated as to acquire herd immunity in our country. As we have sat through this debate, the mention of the COVID-19 virus as being something not only affecting the Federation or our Caribbean region, but it is something that is affecting us on a global standpoint. Hence, I will say, to achieve herd immunity, there should be mass vaccination at an international level, not just St. Kitts and Nevis. This is where the difficulty arises. Does the government's proposition of the mandatory vaccination as being the most effective way of achieving herd immunity account for what is happening in the social moment? A moment where political leaders are ignorant to expert opinions on how to handle the COVID-19 pandemic? A moment where racial injustice is something rampant across societies? Does the government's proposition for the mandatory vaccination as being the most effective way of achieving herd immunity take into account the divisions that the COVID vaccine can bring to society, splitting us into two tiers, those for it and those against it? These are among the few divisions that can run deep and challenge the...
Madam Speaker, the Speaker claimed that mandatory vaccination is not the best way to get our citizens to get vaccinated. But I want to know, is she aware that vaccines have been available now for almost 2 years and people are still not getting vaccinated? So I would like to put the question to her through you. What is the best way for us to reach herd immunity? Thank you.
That is a statement that I will address later in my speech. Thank you. Furthermore, the effects of mandatory vaccination on country outreach is another point to be discussed. Community outreach. Community outreach is fundamental for the distribution and education of the COVID vaccine, which would in turn lead to mass vaccination. A study done by UCLA, which investigates the disproportionate effects of COVID-19 pandemic on the racial or ethnic minority communities, arrived at a conclusion that known, respected, and trusted community leaders and entities are the preferred source for the influence and information around the COVID vaccine. Community leaders or trusted entities may include community clinics or primary care.
On a point of information, Madam Speaker, the opposition member keeps referring to mass vaccination, but my question is, how will you achieve mass vaccination to reach herd immunity when there is vaccine hesitancy present without mandating the vaccine?
I will allow my seconder to answer that question.
Are you accepting or declining?
Yeah, accepting, but I will allow her to answer it at a later time. Participatory discussion are safe spaces with medical professionals to ask questions and address concerns and share COVID-19 information. Varied pathways for trusted communications should be enacted, and Tell One, Teach One campaigns should be implemented. This conclusion is the basis of community outreach. However, with the implementation of the mandatory vaccine, this is staggered, as forcing the hands of persons and removing their freedom of choice has a counterproductive effect on the use of that vaccine. Finally, the ethics behind the COVID vaccine is a factor that gravely affects the notion of mandatory vaccination being the most effective way to achieve herd immunity. The COVID-19 vaccine community carries on its coat many questions of uncertainty. And yet, despite these uncertainty, vaccination is still being pushed to make mandatory. This brings forth the question of the true intentions behind the mandatory vaccine. In the Wahoo piece entitled COVID-19 and Mandatory Vaccination, Ethical Considerations and Caveats, it states that if mandatory vaccination is considered necessary to interrupt transmission chains and prevent harm to others, there should be sufficient evidence that the vaccine is efficacious in preventing severe infection and/or transmission. If you are going to mandate a vaccine that is for the people and to benefit the people, then the ifs and buts of the equation should have already been answered. If you go contrary to the populace, they would begin to feel like mere lab rats or guinea pigs towards making the final product of the COVID-19 vaccine. The reservations that people hold in this regard is quite understandable and should also be respected. An article written by Litia Gwaib for the Health E-News supports this notion as an interviewee, Malawi, a 60-year-old Petra resident, has been vaccinated but distrusts the technology used to develop the COVID-19 vaccine. Specifically, and stated lastly, and I quote, "I will not be a guinea pig to find out what further side effects there would be. It's improper and unethical to mandate a vaccine that brings cries to the heart of those receiving it. As a result, it would inadvertently affect achieving herd immunity due to mass rejection." I will now take pause as my colleague will continue to enlighten you on why mandatory vaccination is not the most effective way to reach herd immunity.
Thank you, Ms. Dariella Warner. Again, we welcome comments and questions on our Facebook Live and our YouTube Live. We are going to have next Mr. Tariq Hercules from the lower government.
Good evening to everyone. I rise tonight to make a contribution on what I thought would have been a debatable topic. I was really expecting the opposition to make some more firm arguments today. Up until now, I still haven't heard them address what is the alternative. So you are saying we should not mandate vaccines, but up until this moment, you have not offered us an alternative. To begin, I would like to mention a quote which is in an article by Julian S., which states, "Good reasons to vaccinate, mandatory vaccinations." She says, and I quote, "Vaccines are one of the greatest medical accomplishments and the cornerstone of public health." I and the opposition concur with this statement, and we need the government to understand that mandatory vaccinations will put us in a better position to fight against the COVID-19 virus. Can I go a bit further? The honorable member of the government who mentioned, our leader mentioned, that mandatory vaccination assists to fight deadly diseases. In addition to this, I would like to add a quote that I found on a credible website, which is an article entitled "Mandatory Vaccination is the Answer to Our Measles Problem." It was indicated that I am going somewhere. Go ahead.
Hello. I rise on a point of information. I realize that you keep saying mandatory vaccination. I want to ask, what's the cause for the mandatory vaccine?
What's the cost?
The cause for the mandatory vaccine, is it just the pandemic or something else?
Thank you for your question. The cause for the go ahead. You said that? He said something? Oh no, the cause for the vaccination is for us to lessen for those who may be impacted, for us to ensure that we can protect the section of the population who are unvaccinated from the COVID-19 virus. Our aim is to achieve herd immunity. Herd immunity means that if we have a good portion of the population vaccinated against the COVID-19 virus, we can save those who are unvaccinated. And what I would like the government to do is to tell us, what I would like the opposition to do is to tell us an alternative that we can put in place in order to ensure that we can reach herd immunity. Okay? Thank you for your questions. So in continuing what I was mentioning, this mechanism that the government of India put in place in order to ensure that the government put in place in order to ensure that mandatory, I can do that. I can. No, I'm declining.
Pause the time. Mr. Hercules again, after I have acknowledged the member, they decline the point of information. Okay.
Can we clarify something? Justice isn't doing this a way to decline, so I did decline. And I would like that we get some fairness. It was said that fairness is what should be meted to everybody, and I've noticed that, the lower government has experienced some unfairness throughout the discussion. So I would like not to be interrupted. Thank you. As I continue in my debate, when this mandatory vaccination has been implemented by India, in this vaccination, they ensure that children who are eligible to be vaccinated are vaccinated against deadly disease, which include smallpox, polio, and mumps, just to name a few. If we implement something similar to this, we can reach the threshold even of having a population that is immunized. Okay? I want to make mention as well, I heard the government made mention of the Antigua's Public Health Act, and I want to reaffirm the effectiveness of this act. By mandating that sector of the population to be vaccinated against the COVID-19 virus, we can ascertain, or we can attain a good population, a good portion of the general population, and ensure that we can have herd immunity. I want us to really think about having a proactive approach. We must begin to roll out the COVID-19 vaccines now. This would help us to be in a position to ensure that our people can have a defense against the COVID-19 virus. I want us to take into consideration the current situation in Grenada. In Grenada, where their vaccine cases are rising immensely. Grenada has a total of 2,063 active COVID-19 cases, with a total of 2,646 confirmed since the country recorded the first case last year. The COVID-19 deaths have ballooned. This is what the Prime Minister of Grenada says, that the COVID-19 deaths have ballooned. Are we, as the citizens of St. Kitts and Nevis, going to wait until it is too late to vaccinate, until it is too late to ensure that we can at least ascertain a portion of our population and achieve herd immunity, ascertain the vaccination of the threshold of our population that would allow us to achieve herd immunity. I noticed as well that the government would have made arguments, that the opposition, made arguments as well regarding the vaccine hesitancy. There must be a vaccine hesitancy if the government is going to be portraying lies across the border. There must be a vaccine hesitancy. You made mention of all sorts of different things that did not even contribute well to our debate in terms of understanding what is the next solution. So if we say no mandatory vaccines, so tell me, and I hope the next speaker really tells me, what is the next solution? As I close, I really want us to think about the current COVID-19 situation that we have. We can make a difference. If we mandate vaccines, we will be in a better position to ensure that we achieve herd immunity and our people can enjoy. You spoke about returning to the normalcy. Well, the vaccination is the way to return to normalcy. We cannot, if you're not offering another solution, we are sticking with the vaccine. We fully promote and we fully support the implementation of mandatory vaccination. The government has made the way forward very clear. The mandatory vaccination of citizens who do not have underlying health condition is the best way to achieve herd immunity. Thank you.
Next, we'll have Ms. Khadija Ejen of the opposition.
Madam Speaker, members of government, other members of opposition, timekeeper, esteemed judges, and all tuned in via social media platforms, good evening. I rise to second the notion of the argument tabled by my colleague as we stand adamant in opposing the moot mandatory vaccination of all citizens without severe underlying health issues is the most effective way to reach herd immunity during the COVID-19 pandemic. Allow me to further elaborate by outlining how mandatory vaccination is by no means the most effective way to get citizens to vaccinate in order to attain herd immunity in our federation. A point that must be considered when speaking on mandatory vaccination and vaccines in general, Madam Speaker, is that of vaccination efficacy. We all see that no matter if vaccinated or unvaccinated, everyone can contract the virus. The vaccines may be deemed ineffective, as after the jab, the same protocols, such as the wearing of masks, still remain. Also, the CDC posited that information about how well the vaccines protect people, how long the vaccines provide protection from COVID-19, the number of persons that have to be vaccinated in order for herd immunity to be considered, and the effectiveness of the vaccines against the new variants of the virus are yet to be known. Hence, the steadfast refusal of the vaccines by most citizens and even persons worldwide. To add, from CDC, the COVID-19 vaccines take up to 2 weeks before protection, which means the virus can still be contracted by a person with as severe as the conditions of one who is unvaccinated. These vaccines with non-rapid effectiveness include the Pfizer-BioNTech vaccine and the AstraZeneca vaccine, which are only 2 vaccines provided in our federation currently. Furthermore, if one is fully vaccinated and gets infected with the Delta variant, he or she is still able to spread it to others. A quote by Jess.
Madam Speaker, on a point of information, protection after 2 weeks is better than no protection at all, is it not? Thank you.
Protection after 2 weeks is too long of a time. I continue. A quote by Jesse L. Goodman, a professor of medicine.
You said it is too long of a time, but having no protection at all is even longer, is it not?
I decline that point of information. A quote by Jesse L. Goodman, a professor of medicine at Georgetown University, supports these new variants may, to some degree, resist our vaccines. Madam Speaker,
I dare say that the efficacy of these vaccines are not effective. These vaccines have not been properly scientifically tested, nor were they approved by the FDA. I decline the point of information. Normally, the side effects of vaccines last only a few days, but it has been statistically proven that the COVID-19 vaccines have long-term effects on one's mental and physical health. Madam Speaker, statistics provided by the organization of KFF Health tracking polls from July 2020 found that many adults are reporting negative health impacts on their mental health and well-being. The statistics show that 36% experience difficulty sleeping, 32% eating.
Madam Speaker, the Speaker claimed that the vaccines are not effective. But when we look at our Caribbean neighbors, such as the Bahamas, in the hospital at the Bahamas, majority of the COVID hospitalizations and deaths consist of unvaccinated persons, and only one person being partially vaccinated, and 0 being vaccinated. So, Madam Speaker, I would like to ask the question, how is that not effective? Because if that is not effective, then I don't know what is.
I continue. 32% eating and increasing alcohol consumption or substance use by 12% and worsening chronic conditions due to worry and stress over the coronavirus also by 12%. Moreover, the multiple doses of the vaccine show that they may be underdeveloped, and more studies and testings should have been carried out before these vaccines were even introduced to mankind. Worldwide equity in vaccine access is arguably the most important challenge we are facing in this pandemic. In addition to the enormous humanitarian issues in regions without vaccine access, the lack of vaccinations will permit the emergence of other new variants and will impede the global control of this pandemic. A quote by Beth Kirkpatrick, a professor in the Department of Microbiology and Molecular Genetics at University of Vermont Lana College. Madam Speaker, this quote draws me to my next point that speaks on vaccine shortages in our federation. The House believes that the mandatory vaccination will lead to herd immunity during these times. But how can we attain herd immunity if there isn't a vast supply of vaccines in our country? The government has threatened our society to vaccinate, yet it doesn't seem that they have even thought about a vast supply for the whole population. How will it be possible, Madam Speaker? There are not enough vaccines available for mandatory enforcement. Many other effective solutions could be discovered to combat mandatory vaccinations. Other options may include the use of manipulation, persuasion, and incentives. Community outreach can be used as well to persons to get vaccinated. Take, for example, the CPL tournament, where booths could have been used to vaccinate those who were interested but unvaccinated.
Thank you, Ms. Ejen. Thank you. We have concluded the presentations by all the four teams. We will now have the, I almost said jury deliberation, judges deliberation. So during that time, we'll take comments, questions, anything from our Facebook Live or YouTube Live. So please share what you have to share and address our members on the live. Anything on the live?
we're giving you the power to create lasting memories, to accomplish your wildest dreams, the power to set a goal and achieve it. And we're doing so in the moments when you need us most. We think of you in all we do, because we're not just an energy provider. We are tested, committed, efficient, and most of all, we are an electricity company that you can depend on. And we wouldn't have it any other way. SKNYPA, powering your community with reliability and responsibility.
Yo! You look like the dude who was shopping at furniture and appliances.
See, my friend, you look like you buy something from the Ashley Home Store.
How you know?
Because we get the cashback coupons and the free groceries for a year!
Cashback is back at Horsford's Furniture and Appliances and Ashley Furniture. Shop now and get a chance to win free groceries for 1 year.
Want to get away? Now you can.
Stop standing in long ATM lines to withdraw cash. Use your national debit or black cards to complete a wide variety of transactions at supermarkets, variety stores, gas stations, pharmacies, and more. Shop online at the most popular websites and stores for quality brands using your national debit or black cards. And take back your time to enjoy all the things that you love to do. Remember, instead of waiting in long ATM lines to withdraw cash, use your national bank cards today.
National Bank, always here.
When growing your savings, where you save matters more than you think. Dare to compare and see for yourself why you should start saving and investing at First Federal Credit Union. You don't have to settle for cents. Let your money make sense. Reap a higher return by stashing your cash in a high-yield savings account or term deposit and earn up to 4% interest on your money. At First Federal, we say yes.
My name is Carissa Roberts and I have been a member of this prestigious association for 10 years. It is with a great sense of pride I congratulate the St. Kitts National Youth Parliament Association on the celebration of its 20th anniversary. Throughout the years, the association has offered meaningful volunteerism, strong contributions to the national debate, and my own holistic personal and professional development, all key facets of equality and justice in nation building. For these key reasons and more, I am SKNYPA proud.
Why am I proud to be a SKNYParian? Being a part of SKNYPA means being a part of a team that fights for youth involvement in this nation's affairs. SKNYPA represents equality and justice for all. In the past, it has molded its members to become upstanding citizens of this federation. I am honored to hold the title of SKNYParian, and I can truly say that my leadership skills and public speaking skills have developed during my membership. I am SKNYPA proud.
Greetings. Why am I SKNYPA proud? This institution represents vision and excellence among many other values and characteristics that cannot be predicted nor replicated. You see, within SKNYPA, we have created a vehicle via which innovation and creativity rise, where young people have the opportunity to reach their fullest potential. Look at me. From my inception, SKNYPA has been a cog in the turning wheel of my holistic development. I am youth activist Vikel Edwards Douglas, and I am SKNYPA proud.
Being a SKNYParian has given me the unique opportunity to be intimately informed about the parliamentary system of St. Kitts and to make my opinions on matters of national interest known to the highest elected officials of the land through position papers. This is an opportunity that not many young people often get. I am SKNYPA proud.
10 years ago, in August 2011, I joined the St. Kitts National Youth Parliament Association, and what a journey it was. I learned how to enhance my public speaking skills. I learned a lot about parliamentary procedure and was able to gain a network of young people from across the entire Caribbean region and also the wider world. Honestly, being a SKNYPerian was a wonderful experience, and I'm grateful for every single opportunity that was given to me. I am SKNYPA proud.
SKNYPA gave me a voice and the opportunity to speak on some of the most important topics of our day, not just here in St. Kitts, but regionally and internationally. I became a member of the association from 2002 right up until 2015. During those years, I found my voice and I matured. I would not be where I am today had it not been for the St. Kitts National Youth Parliament Association. The lessons and training received in the association continues to aid me in my personal and professional life today. I am a SKNYPerian and I wear that badge with pride. Thank you to SKNYPA, and I say to all its members, past, present and honorary members, a happy 20th anniversary, and may God continue to bless you all.
Being a part of this association has taught me so much. Public speaking skills, social skills, communication skills, you name it. I've learned through this association that I have a voice and that my opinions do matter. As I continue my journey as a SKNYPerian, I look forward to the many opportunities that are in store. I am SKNYPA proud.
Good day, I'm Sharon Benjamin Kelly, founding member and first president of the St. Kitts National Youth Parliament Association. SKNYPA was a tremendous opportunity, and it helped me learn a lot about leadership. Leadership does not just include pandering to the popular vote, but in understanding the things that affect everybody that you represent. It may not always be the popular thing to do, but we should always do the right thing. In putting country above self, we have to think about everyone in the country, not just those who support us. Congratulations to SKNYPA on reaching 20 years of service.
I am SKNYPA proud.
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 I am SKNYPA proud. I am SKNYPA proud.
I am SKNYPA proud.
When growing your savings, where you save matters more than you think. Dare to compare and see for yourself why you should start saving and investing at First Federal Credit Union. You don't have to settle for cents. Let your money make sense. Reap a higher return by stashing your cash in a high-yield savings account or term deposit and earn up to 4% interest on your money. At First Federal, we say yes.
We're giving you the power to create lasting memories, to accomplish your wildest dreams, the power to set a goal and achieve it. And we're doing so in the moments when you need us most. We think of you in all we do, because we're not just an energy provider. We are tested, committed, efficient, and most of all, we are an electricity company that you can depend on. And we wouldn't have it any other way. SKNYPA, powering your community with reliability and responsibility.
Want to get away? Now you can.
Stop standing in long ATM lines to withdraw cash. Use your national debit or black cards to complete a wide variety of transactions at supermarkets, variety stores, gas stations, pharmacies, and more.
Shop online at the most popular websites and stores for quality brands using your national debit or black cards. And take back your time to enjoy all the things that you love to do. Remember, instead of waiting in long ATM lines to withdraw cash, use your national bank cards today.
National Bank, always here.
Yo! You look like the dude who was shopping at Furniture and Appliances. See, my friend, you look like you buy something from the Ashley Home Store. How you know? Because we get the cashback coupons and the free groceries for a year!
Cashback is back at Horsford's Furniture and Appliances and Ashley Furniture. Shop now and get a chance to win free groceries for 1 year.
given you the power to create lasting memories, to accomplish your wildest dreams, the power to set a goal and achieve it. And we're doing so in the moments when you need us most. We think of you in all we do, because we're not just an energy provider. We are tested, committed, efficient, and most of all, we are an electricity company that you can depend on. And we wouldn't have it any other way. SKNYPA, powering your community with reliability and responsibility.
Want to get away? Now you can.
Stop standing in long ATM lines to withdraw cash. Use your national debit or black cards to complete a wide variety of transactions at supermarkets, variety stores, gas stations, pharmacies, and more. Shop online at the most popular websites and stores for quality brands using your national debit or black cards. And take back your time to enjoy all the things that you love to do. Remember, instead of waiting in long ATM lines to withdraw cash, use your national bank cards today.
National Bank, always here.
Yo! You look like the dude who was shopping at Furniture and Appliances. See, my friend, you look like you buy something from the Ashley Home Store. How you know? Because we get the cashback coupons and the free groceries for a year!
Cashback is back at Horsford's Furniture and Appliances and Ashley Furniture. Shop now and get a chance to win free groceries for 1 year.
When growing your savings, where you save matters more than you think. Dare to compare and see for yourself why you should start saving and investing at First Federal Credit Union. You don't have to settle for cents. Let your money make sense. Reap a higher return by stashing your cash in a high-yield savings account or term deposit and earn up to 4% interest on your money. At First Federal, we say yes.
Welcome back. We had a brief recess. Our debaters have mingled and are re-energized again. We have a question on the live, and then after the question, I'm going to open to the floor to debaters and members of our audience on the topic for tonight. As a reminder, the moot is, this House believes that the mandatory vaccination of all citizens without severe underlying health issues is the most effective way to reach herd immunity during this COVID-19 pandemic. We have one question. Madam Speaker, I direct this question to Mr. Tariq Hercules. Why is it that the amount of vaccines taken is directly proportional to the number of cases in the upward trend? According to your argument of herd immunity, there should be a downward trend in cases. Mr. Hercules, again, why is it that the amount of vaccination, I think this should be the number of vaccination. Why is it that the number of vaccinations taken is directly proportional to the number of cases in the upward trend?
Thank you. Based on what this person is saying,
Mr. Hercules, come to the
oh, sorry. To you? Oh, okay. Right, so the premise of this argument... Oh, sorry. I didn't understand. Sorry. Okay, thank you for that question from that person in Facebook land. But it seems like the premise of your argument is that the vaccination is what is causing people to die. That is absurd, and the reality is that in most of those cases, people who died are those who were not vaccinated. We see that even though people get vaccinated and they experience side effects, it is not severe unto death. And this has been proven by different drug bodies such as CDC, FDA. The FDA again, and I'm just going to quote it again, that the FDA says that the vaccine, the COVID-19 vaccine, is actually safe and effective. So to answer your question, I think that it's a twist on what I said. What I'm basically trying to advocate is that we realize if we begin to implement mandatory vaccine, we can even shift the current COVID-19 climate that we are now in. Are you aware that in Grenada now, they are in a position where they have a committee on standby, an ethics committee to decide who lives and who dies if their situations become any more worse, okay? So I just believe that we should focus on mandating vaccines and rolling it out as much as we can. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hercules. Now, recently, within the last 2 weeks, we would have seen the Antigua and Barbuda government issued a release indicating by October 1st, all government or state employees must be vaccinated. So that's compulsory, must be vaccinated. In addition to that, we recently concluded our Caribbean Premier League. Patriots was victorious. Congrats. Yes. And where we saw a sort of a bubble or a test run of the pass, a pass where you have to be vaccinated. You present your vaccination card, fully vaccinated that is, and then you are admitted into the venue. What are your views on this, on the way of more like a vaccine passport? Anybody care to comment? Vaccine passport, mandatory vaccination for state employees. Additionally, Antigua would have stated as well too that this policy would not be enforced right now on their healthcare workers, because of course, you know, if our healthcare workers are not allowed to work, then we'll be in a dire state. So they have suspended the application of this policy to healthcare workers. What are your views on this matter? Mr. Connor, I recognize you. You can come to the podium.
Good night once again. The vaccination passports, as we know, they're taking the world by storm. France currently has quite a few vaccination passports, as well as Canada. While I can definitely say the vaccination passports would be quite like our very own vaccination cards that we get at birth, I can definitely say that it's quite an appalling issue, because then what you're basically telling the public, because no government at this present time has stated that if you take the vaccine and something happens to you, let's say by hook or crook, let's give it the benefit of the doubt, that something happens to you from taking that vaccine. No government has stated that they will take full responsibility for that issue. And I'm honestly on the side of the people with their fear of that. Because then what tends to happen is that you're now not necessarily forcing them to take the vaccine, but if you're telling them that in order for them to make a wage, in order for them to feed their families, they have to take this vaccine, then they don't have a choice.
Thank you, and that's really thought-provoking. You know, as children, we would have to receive our MMR, our polio, and a number of vaccines. And in school, we were in grade 6 and 5th form. The nurses would come to the school and would line up, and we'd go and take our shots and so on. The vaccination issue is one that needs to be discussed. I do agree in our democratic rights. But what I want to ask a question is the issue of rights or an issue of an approach? I have heard many persons talk about the fear-mongering, as you pointed out just now, jab or vaccine. So do you think an approach would be a better, for example, engaging civil society, all stakeholders going around doing door-to-door, so they could do an election campaign, to encourage and use the emotive or empathetic approach? Do you think that would be a better approach to the vaccination? Anyone? What do you think about the approach? The floor. Okay. Yes, I recognize Patrice.
Okay, now, in analyzing the topic about mandatory vaccinations, I don't think the issue is so much anything about approach, or what was the other method? You said approach, or...
I was suggesting we take a more empathetic, emotive approach.
Okay, I don't think the issue so much is approach, because these are challenges that we are seeing globally, not that they are limited to what is happening in St. Kitts and Nevis. If you pay attention to Grenada, Guyana, as Madam Erskine would have mentioned, as well as Antigua and Barbuda, it's not so much an issue of approach. I think what we kind of need to realize is that we are creatures, we are human beings. And there's a particular theory that speaks to the diffusion of innovation. So quite naturally, you're going to have persons who, just like when an iPhone 13 comes out, somebody wants to get the iPhone 13 immediately. These are who you call the early adopters. These are the people who are going to jump on board. It doesn't require that much engagement, persuasion to get them to purchase the iPhone. When the COVID-19 vaccine began rolling out really, really early, I think it was like December 2020 or somewhere around there, and I saw persons in the US becoming vaccinated, I said to myself, wow, look at them, like this thing is so strange, it's so alien. And then when you start to recognize, when it came to St. Kitts and you saw the politicians getting vaccinated and then you saw the doctors, it still was a bit of a strange concept, because there was some more engagement that needed to happen in order for persons to be able to adopt it. So I think quite naturally, we are going to see persons in the later stages of the diffusion to be able to adopt the taking of the vaccine. I don't think it's so much about incentives. I don't know how well incentives have worked. I've seen in the US in particular, they gave away tons and tons of money. They do have high vaccine rates. We see places like the UK as well, where they might not have had those types of incentives, but people took the vaccine there, they have an aged population, so there are different factors contributing to it. I just think that quite naturally, within the next year or two or so forth, we're going to see more persons who are going to take the vaccine, because They may have recognized that my neighbor took it and nothing happened, my doctor took it and nothing happened, because everybody doesn't purchase an iPhone 13 at the same time. That's just how it works.
Thank you, Patrice. That is so true. I had an iPhone 7 for almost 3 years, and this year I got an iPhone 12. So, so you're right. We get there, and they had about 3 or 4 iPhones in between, the iPhone 7 and iPhone 12. So we're going to get there. Once we reach there, and it's for the greater good. Now we're going to have feedback from our judges, Mrs. Colincia Levine, our head judge.
Good evening, all. It is a pleasure for me to address you in this manner on behalf of the judges. Firstly, we want to congratulate the SKNYPA Association on their 20th anniversary. Indeed, youth involvement in nation building is something that is commendable and should be supported, and we want to continue to encourage you to keep at it. And the lives you are touching are not just the ones in this room or listening. It is hope for the future. So continue. We acknowledge the immense difficulty index associated with this activity. We want to acknowledge that it's not easy by any means to come in front of an audience and speak, especially one that's being aired live. So we want, again, to encourage SKNYPA to continue to be innovative and pushing the mark and exposing our young people to technologies and the way of the future. Gone are the times where town halls were the primary mode of communicating and disseminating information. We need to have our youths involved in virtual and face-to-face simultaneously. So we encourage SKNYPA again. The areas for improvement that we noted, there was a reliance on the script that, although we acknowledge is necessary based on the nature of the task, but we encourage a more natural response to some of the questions, especially those on the point of order. Also, the style of the debate is not one that we typically see, and we encourage the association to do more practice so that the participants can handle the various roles a bit better, especially, again, the point of information. The use of the Constitution, although commendable, we want to encourage some more fervent research when we're going to be making mention to these very important documents. We also encourage more research into the roles of each member given this style of debate. I think a deeper understanding of the roles would have lent itself to a more robust discussion. What we want to commend, the level of research presented is very commendable. The sources cited and the breadth of knowledge shared, commendable. The manner of presentations was astounding, eloquence personified. It is so exciting to see so many young people being able to come to the podium and present themselves so fluently and with such energy. Very, very exciting. We want to again commend SKNYPA for providing youth with this platform and training. And we encourage you to expand. Come to the schools, do more. It was very exhilarating. We also want to commend the use of the Health Act. We have 2 lawyers on the panel, and they were very impressed with the use and mention of the Health Act. So it is very encouraging to see young people, again, engaging with these serious documents and having an opinion and being able to articulate them so eloquently. In closing, we want to encourage all of you to continue. SKNYPA would have been the bedrock. Do more, keep going. All the best and happy anniversary.
We'll now go straight into our award ceremony. we'll ask Ms. Patrice Harris, our president, to come forward. During this time, we'll also announce our best speaker and the winner. At this time, I will now give my duty over to Mr. Hassani McDonald, the chairperson of this event, an inaugural event.
Good night, everyone, and thank you for staying with us. Those on the live, we thank you for staying with us thus far. We will jump straight into the certificate of participation that will be awarded to every person who participated in this debate. I'll start over here, Mr. Patrice Nisbet, certificate of participation. And just encourage the presenters with a resounding round of applause. Next, we have Miss Zara Trotman. Those two presenters were on the Nevis delegation. We want to thank them for coming over from the Sister Isle. Next, we have Mr. Darren Connor. He is followed behind Miss Malia Erskine. Here, he's a part of SKNYPA and also CFBC Excellence Toastmasters Club. So this evening he wore the cap of CFBC Excellence. And then we have, lastly, Mr. Tariq Hercules. Let's hear the round of applause, please. Then I'll move straight into the announcement of the best speaker. I'll just mention the top three for time. In third place, we had we only have a certificate for the winner, though, sorry. But I'll mention the first three. The top three, we had, in third place, Miss Malia Erskine. In second place, we had Zara Trotman. And the winner of the Best Speaker Award goes to Mr. Patrice Nisbet. I'll move straight into the announcement of the winner. Sorry. I'll move straight into the announcements of the winner. So do I mention the overall scores for everyone or just the winner? Everyone. So, okay. So we have the top two associations. In second place, we have the St. Kitts National Youth Parliament Association, and the winner of the 20th anniversary inter-association debate is the Nevis delegation team. So we invite both Mr. Patrice Nisbet and Ms. Zara Connor Trotman to accept their award. So let's hear it for the winners one more time, and all the participants, to be exact. I think they each did a splendid job, and we are grateful for their participation in making this event a success. Malachi. Okay, so we congratulate the Nevis delegation for winning. I didn't mention the scores, but the second place had 471 points, and the first place had 560 points. I want to thank Ms. Patrice Harris and Ms. Asby Libert for helping us with the award distribution. Thank you very much, ladies. I'll move straight into the vote of thanks. I know we are running on time, and so I just want to start by saying thanking Almighty God for making it possible for us to be here together for this debate. I want to thank the Clarence Fitzroy Bryant College for allowing us to use their space to conduct the debate. I also want to thank the participants and the persons that assisted them. I know the Nevis team had Mr. Kedgel Smithon, the CFBC Literary had Miss Laverne Brooks, the SKNYPA team had Vicky Edwards Douglas. I'm not sure who assisted the Excellence Toastmasters Club, but we are grateful for each and every one of them. We also want to say thank you to our judges, our head judge, and our other two judges who had to leave for another engagement. We want to thank our auditor, Mrs. Patrice Bell. We also thank John James and his media team for allowing us to go live on our social media platforms. We want to thank Kyla Brown. She created the lovely certificates that the participants had. Also, Department of Youth, Nevis, Ministry of Social Development, and Curtis Clark for making it possible for our Nevis delegation to be here with us this evening. We want to thank Mr. Warner from Warner One Stop, who assisted us with the trophy for the winning team. We thank Royal Regards for the refreshments that will be served afterwards. We thank all SKNYParians, the moderator, the person who said the prayer, opening and welcoming remarks, reading the introduction of bios, the timer, the PR team. We thank you, we thank you, we thank you. I just want to thank each of you for being in our audience and the listening public. Also, those who viewed on YouTube and Facebook, thank you, thank you, thank you. I now close out this wonderful debate competition, and you are free to leave.
My name is Carissa Roberts, and I have been a member of this prestigious association for 10 years. It is with a great sense of pride I congratulate the St. Kitts National Youth Parliament Association on the celebration of its 20th anniversary. Throughout the years, the association has offered meaningful volunteerism, strong contributions to the national debate, and my own holistic personal and professional development, all key facets of equality and justice in nation building. For these key reasons and more, I am SKNYPA proud.
Why am I proud to be a SKNYParian? Being a part of SKNYPA means being a part of a team that fights for youth involvement in this nation's affairs. SKNYPA represents equality and justice for all. In the past, it has molded its members to become upstanding citizens of this federation. I am honored to hold the title of SKNYPArian, and I can truly say that my leadership skills and public speaking skills have developed during my membership. I am SKNYPA proud.
Greetings! Why am I SKNYPA proud? This institution represents vision and excellence among many other values and characteristics that cannot be predicted nor replicated. You see, within SKNYPA, we have created a vehicle via which innovation and creativity rise, where young people have the opportunity to reach their fullest potential. Look at me. From my inception, SKNYPA has been a cog in the turning wheel of my holistic development. I am youth activist Vikel Edwards Douglas, and I am SKNYPA proud.
Being a SKNYPArian has given me the unique opportunity to be intimately informed about the parliamentary system of St. Kitts and to make my opinions on matters of national interest known to the highest elected officials of the land through position papers. This is an opportunity that not many young people often get. I am SKNYPA proud.
10 years ago, in August 2011, I joined the St. Kitts National Youth Parliament Association, and what a journey it was. I learned how to enhance my public speaking skills. I learned a lot about parliamentary procedure and was able to gain a network of young people from across the entire Caribbean region and also the wider world. Honestly, being a SKNYPArian was a wonderful experience, and I'm grateful for every single opportunity that was given to me. I am SKNYPA proud.
SKNYPA gave me a voice and the opportunity to speak on some of the most important topics of our day, not just here in St. Kitts, but regionally and internationally. I became a member of the association from 2002 right up until 2015. During those years, I found my voice and I matured. I would not be where I am today had it not been for the St. Kitts National Youth Parliament Association. The lessons and training received in the association continues to aid me in my personal and professional life today. I am a SKNYPArian and I wear that badge with pride. Thank you to SKNYPA, and I say to all its members, past, present and honorary members, a happy 20th anniversary, and may God continue to bless you all.
Being a part of this association has taught me so much. Public speaking skills, social skills, communication skills, you name it. I've learned through this association that I have a voice and that my opinions do matter. As I continue my journey as a SKNYPArian, I look forward to the many opportunities that are in store. I am SKNYPA proud.
Good day, I'm Sharon Benjamin Kelly, founding member and first president of the St. Kitts National Youth Parliament Association. SKNYPA was a tremendous opportunity, and it helped me learn a lot about leadership. Leadership does not just include pandering to the popular vote, but in understanding the things that affect everybody that you represent. It may not always be the popular thing to do, but we should always do the right thing. In putting country above self, we have to think about everyone in the country, not just those who support us. Congratulations to SKNYPA on reaching 20 years of service.
I am SKNYPA proud.
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 I am SKNYPA proud. I am SKNYPA proud.
I am SKNYPA proud.